book. This is what books look like. Those are also books. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it, bro. Thank you, Marsha. That's Marsha. Marsha's my lamp. Nope. 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 Hi. What's up? Welcome back. And this is how we're going to start things off. So what I do is I talk about books that I've read, books that I like, talk about stories, what makes stories good, because stories is important to all of us. Except for you, Frederick! Frederick's my dog. This is a great way for me to drink beer. Beer. And talk about books. Oh! That's beer. So last time we talked about a fantasy book, I wanted to do something different. So we're going to do a sci-fi fantasy book. We can do that. Maybe one day we will get to something less imaginative, like a regular fiction book or just a regular book. But today we're not going to do that. Start the montage. Here we go. Dune. Oh boy. Dune. I am being a little risky with Dune. So actually the reason why I'm doing Dune, or I decided to talk about Dune, I've made a list of things to talk about on this list. Tell some jokes. I talked about this other book last time. Go check it out. Subscribe. Leave comments. All that stuff. This other book that I talked about by Scott Bakker is kind of a fantasy book, and I compared Scott Bakker to Frank Herbert. Frank Herbert wrote this book. It's called Dune. Dune is really, really a big deal to me. Dune to me, and I know I compared Scott Bakker's book as The Darkness That Comes Before as the fantasy version of Dune. But that's kind of weird because I'm going to compare this as the sci-fi. This is the sci-fi equivalent of Lord of the Rings. I think it says that on here somewhere. I know nothing comparable to it except Lord of the Rings by Arthur C. Clarke. They're probably in the right ballpark game. I need a beer. That's how we do it. That's how we do it in Florida. If you're not from Florida, you're probably not even doing it. Dune is pretty epic. I guess you consider this a space opera. Similar to Star Wars. Excuse me. I read this book because I used to watch the 1980s film. You can be a hater, but I loved it. I loved it because they put a lot of effort into the movie, a lot of effort into the prop work and the costumes, and I thought it was such a weird movie. And it's true, because the book is also a weird book. It's a weird, unique story. Very much like your standard hero story arc, where you have this one person who kind of has unfortunate things happen to him, and he kind of has to overcome those situations, and he becomes the hero and kind of the redeemer of all. Now, this is actually pretty epic. The Dune series stretches to a ton of books. I don't even know how many books there are, but a ton. I've only read the first 3, and maybe I'll tell you why I stopped at 3. Maybe I won't, because I don't want to ruin anything for you. And this particularly focuses on the planet Arrakis, or what some people call Dune. And it's this big desert planet that some people would think, oh, if it's a desert planet, then there's nothing of value on it. Actually, it's the most valuable planet because it gives off a spice. The spice on Dune is the most powerful element that anyone could have in the universe in Dune. It has a lot of side effects. You know what I mean. It is a bit addictive. In fact, they even drink like a coffee tea thing made out of it. The spice not only is something that I think heightens the senses, but also spice is important for space travel. What they do in the universe in Dune is they fold space. So if you want to go from point A to point B, you actually, instead of actually traveling that distance, you fold that distance, kind of like folding a piece of paper. Yeah, so the idea is that they fold space, but in order to do that, somehow that uses the spice that is run on the planet Arrakis. That is why it's important. This follows mostly Paul Atreides, who's from the house, you guessed it, Atreides, the family Atreides. This other opposing house really wants to take over the planet and take over him, and so a bunch of stuff kind of happens. A lot of backstabbing, a lot of unfair things happen, and he kind of has to escape. When he escapes, he has to kind of get in with the locals, if you know what I mean, and kind of learn this ancient way of fighting. And in the meantime, he's fulfilling prophecies and kind of becoming a prophet and all that other stuff. It's juicy. I love it because, one, it feels kind of like a steampunk, but it's not. It's not a blatant steampunk, but you can tell it's written before a huge boom of the current digital age. So the interpretation of technology in the future or in this other world coming from the point when this was written is actually very interesting. It's not annoying or clunky or boring, but it's different. It's very unique. People use the power of voice as an actual weapon. There's also some knife fighting. We have very Middle Eastern cultures. Anyways, it's very interesting point of political kind of tug of war, but also personal tug of war within the family, and then really well done, unique cultures on. That's something I like in fantasy and sci-fi, is that I don't want to just see like, oh, we've got swords and dragons, or oh, we've got spaceships and planets. I want to see cultures that are actually unique and different. You know, when you think about, oh, these people are completely different than our world because it's a made-up world. So how unique can we make them? Like, can we talk about like, hey, this never existed in their world, so therefore their culture wasn't affected by that, and instead they have this that plays as this important part in their culture. Those are things that, to me, make a book or a story compelling or interesting, unique. On top of that, he delivers it pretty well. I don't know if I would say that he's like an extravagant storyteller, but he doesn't annoy me, which that means he's at least decent. He's at least good, in my opinion. Some authors can just annoy me because they either sound like they're trying too hard or they're not trying at all. I think he's a good happy medium. To me, that's important. One thing I will say is that, and I don't know if it's as much happening in this book, I know it does happen in some of his other books, but he takes moments to talk about some mystical ideas or concepts. He talks about people going to different places in their mind, or kind of like transcending the kind of having out-of-body experiences. And my biggest pet peeve with that is that he does it so much, but in ways that don't really feel like they move the character forward or move the story forward. And I know I mentioned that with Scott Bakker's. That can be a total issue, because if you're not moving the character forward or the story forward, then you actually end up wasting time. If you're a science fiction reader or a fantasy reader, Dune should be read. You should have Dune on your shelf. If you don't, you're bad. And you should probably rethink, what are you doing with your life? You should think, why are you even doing that? Why are you doing that? Why? Not that big of a deal, bro. Not that big of a deal. I don't know why that's such a big deal. This actually looks way bigger than it actually is. Yeah, so about 800 pages. So it's actually kind of bigger than I thought it would be. There's a joke in there. You should definitely have it on your shelf if you like science fiction or fantasy in general. Interested in what's going to happen next. It's great world building. If you like my review, if you like this book, if you like other books, you have other books, books. If you have other stuff that you think I should read, or review, or talk about, or just don't like me, or really do like me, subscribe, comment, make an account for your grandma, have them subscribe. Those are good ideas too. Hopefully I'll be doing more of these. Maybe you think I'm wrong. You're wrong. Get out. But subscribe first, then get out. Ooh, this smells good. It smells like beer.